Welcome to 5 Stripe Weekly. A great result for Atlanta United on decision day sees us finish second. But did we reveal too much to the New England Revolution before our playoff game? We discuss all that and more coming up.
Welcome to the show, 5 Stripe fam. I'm AJ, this is Tanner McLeod. Before we get into it, become a member of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube or hop over from Facebook and subscribe. Stay tuned for the winner of the 100th episode giveaway, but first, let's thank our sponsor. This segment is sponsored by Mojitos Bistro. Mojitos at the Forum, where you can find a slice of Miami and Havana right here in Atlanta. They offer Cuban cuisine made with recipes from their mom's cookbook. For more on the awesomeness at Mojitos, check our description box below. So guys, it was a 3-1 win against the New England Revolution on Sunday, but maybe the score flattered us a little bit because, there were a lot of shots in this game, and they really, on a better day, if they finished their chances better, it could have been a lot different. But I think we, at least, we took care of business. We were definitely more clinical. And Julian Gressel, he had a hell of a day.
Yeah, absolutely. Julian Gressel and Josef Martinez, 2 weeks after we all thought he might be done for the season, getting a goal as well. But yeah, it was a 3-1 result for the Five Stripes. But kind of like you said, and as was pointed out by, I believe, both Josh Bagariansky and Joe Patrick on Twitter, Atlanta United actually lost the XG battle at home, which is really weird. That doesn't happen too often with Atlanta United. New England did create a lot of chances. They had 18 shots to Atlanta United's 20, but they only managed to put 4 on target. And there's a goal and a chance we'll get into in a little bit. But like you said, if they had been more clinical, it might have been a different result for Atlanta United and a little bit of a warning shot to the team before that playoff matchup.
Right, because they, I think, obviously had found some weaknesses within our setup and our defensive scheme. And they found some holes behind Gressel and Escobar and a little bit on the left side as well with LGP. If he goes up to challenge and then it just leaves a big old hole behind because Justin Mirim, there's definitely, I think, space to exploit. So pretty much the wings, and then a little bit centrally as well, they got a lucky bounce for their goal. That's just, it's kind of stuff that happens maybe within our setup if we're not all compact and on the same page. But, at least in terms of, going through kind of the timeline very early on, they get a chance. And, Christian Pinilla almost gets to put it away. Goose save, that's quite incredible, actually.
Very good goalkeeping, coming out one-on-one, making himself big, making Pinilla think, making a save, and then forcing him wide to allow his defenders to come back and back him up.
Right, and Pinilla, shoots it wide. It's, I think that's good defending and goalkeeping there. But, and then we quickly kind of maybe a little bit against the run of play in a sense. But, for our goal, Hyndman finds Joseph. Joseph finds Gressel, and Gressel, he's crossing into the box on the floor, and Darlington Nagbe slips in right ahead of Josef Martinez and puts it in the back of the net. And a great goal, and great to see Darlington Nagbe get in the score sheet, because it's one of those things, it's pretty rare.
It's a collector's item. He's only got 2, and that was the second one.
And I think it's one of those type of goals where Darlington Nagbe, if he has time to think in the box, it just usually doesn't end well. But this was more of an instinct type of goal, and he just slipped in there. That's what you want to see from Darlington Nagbe, because, I think he is a guy that, in the playoffs, he's not an expected goal scorer. So, I think that kind of almost third-man run that he made, that's very, very vital, I think, for us going forward. But, and then, going through to the next part, I think we're going to go ahead and get into the breakdown. We're bringing this back. So it starts with a very simple ball over the top and a lucky bounce, and Christian Pinilla is in, and Goose, he comes out quickly like before, but Christian Pinilla knows what to do with this one this time and slots it in behind him. But it's one of those things where I think, if we're easily beat like this in the playoffs with a ball over the top that just bypasses our forward line, our midfield, and pretty much catches out a Franco Escobar like that, it just doesn't bode well. We need that kind of solidity to make sure that we win those balls over the top, because it's, Like,
well, it's schoolboy. I think
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
one of the ways that you could look at something that's schoolboy defending. It's off a simple throw in, and a player just hoofs the ball along. I would expect 10 out of 10 times for Franco Escobar to attack that ball aggressively and win it in the air. He hesitates, he doesn't go after it. Because of that, it kind of jumps up on him in a way. He misses a touch, and then it goes through. Julian Gressel, as he's wont to do, is pressed higher forward as a wingback. Because of that, he's now chasing the play, and Pinilla is breaking into space. And that's something that is simple. That should not happen. No professional team, especially one of Atlanta United's caliber, should be undone by as simple a pass as that.
It's basically route one.
It's route one. It's a route one hoof and pray, and somehow everyone on your defense managed to get beat by that ball.
Right.
And it's unacceptable, but they'll probably be going over that. You know they'll be going over that in training and in the video sessions leading up to the rematch in 2 weeks' time, knowing full well that that cannot happen again, because if it does, that's damning on both the coaching staff and the players involved as well.
But I think they knew that going in, that hoofing it long and then in that area, basically behind Gressel and Franco Escobar, that's the area to exploit. And that's really where it's most worrying and damning. Agreed. And then the second minute chance, that's really where there was that other, like, it was this simple through ball.
Well, the danger was there from early on
Yeah.
because of this chance that we're going to go over right now. And it was just a simple through ball, like you said, where the players, they're not holding their line the way they should. Julian Gressel attempts to step and play Pinilla offside, but when he does that, he's too late. The ball's already been played. Now he's chasing. Thankfully, there was good defending, but again, this is simple stuff that should not be allowed to happen.
Right, LGP is caught up to C, and then Larry isn't anywhere near it, and it really takes a really brilliant intervention by Brad Guzan to kind of thwart this chance. And so this is kind of where it's kind of the crux of, you know, the kind of chances that they got. Pretty simple, direct play from New England, and they nearly had quite a few chances. And like we said earlier, if they were more clinical, it really would have been a different result. So yeah, and you know,
it's not a foreign tactic though to see against a team like Atlanta United or a team that likes to possess the ball. I spoke about it, I believe, in my fan cam this past Sunday, or at least maybe I spoke about it before. But if you watch the Premier League, you noted that Wolverhampton defeated Manchester City 2-0 at the Etihad. That's the first time Manchester City had lost without scoring at home in almost 3 years, 2.5 years since, funny enough, Man United beat them 1-0, and Marcus Rashford sent Martin Di Michelis into retirement, but that was when we were halfway decent. Anyway, I digress. Point being, teams will see that you're pushing numbers forward when you have fullbacks or wingbacks that play aggressive and center backs that are susceptible in one-on-one situations. Nicolas Otamendi and LGP have a lot in common, where they'll make a bit of a rash challenge or feel the need to go to ground. Franco Escobar, same way, where he'll go into a challenge and maybe he can just stand the defender up.
Right.
If teams leave players who are fast and quick, high and wide, there is spaces for them to exploit. And with Atlanta United, especially with the impetus of playing at home and being expected to attack and score goals, teams will look for that space in behind. And if Atlanta United doesn't keep their positional discipline and makes rash decision making, they will get punished for it.
Yeah, and you can't expect a Miles Robinson to bail you out every single time on that one-on-one, and especially when they do play out to the right or left center back, and that's really where teams are looking to try to beat us. And at times this season, that's really where they have. And really, I mean, we got beaten 12 times this season. I mean, it was an obvious tactic in the 3-5-2. So.
Well, and I think the thing you can say about that, and Michael Parkhurst has talked about how good Miles Robinson is as a one-on-one defender, one of the best he's actually seen. It's the complete opposite for Franco Escobar and LGP, I think. They're more athletic players. They're very skilled on the ball. They like to be involved in the play, but when it comes to one-on-one, they're a bit more rash. They make sometimes, they use their athleticism to make up for their mistakes, whereas Miles Robinson has developed into clearly a very cerebral positional player who can use his athletic talents to help make up for any mistakes he makes, but also uses his brain to prevent them from happening.
Right.
And I think one-on-one teams know he's not the guy to target. Target the two guys that are most likely going to be out of position.
Right. And so, yeah, and in that sense, at times they were overloading us on the wings as well, making Julian Gressel defend. And so that's something that will have to be rectified as well. I think that we adjusted to it later on in the game, but I think early on they definitely found some joy in that. And so, yeah, it will be where I think Franco Escobar will have to be a little bit more disciplined, not just kind of take a risk every single, every other play and things like that. And so, but I think moving on to the really good things that happened in this match, Julian Gressel, like we were saying, with the 2 assists. I mean, that for the second goal, that ball from deep, from the right wing back position for Josef Martinez. My God, the bend on that.
It's perfect. It was perfect.
Yeah, inch perfect to where Josef Martinez needed to be, where he loves it. The connection obviously is there. I mean, it's prolific, their connection. But
as soon as Josef got it, I was watching the match with Roberto Rojas, and before Josef even put the ball in the back of the net, I was going 2-1. It's 2-1. Yeah. You just knew it when Josef gets the ball in that much space on a ball over the top, and he has the keeper one-on-one like that. It's just, you knew it. I knew it. I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one that felt that way when he got the ball. It's like, this is 2-1. You just knew it was going to hit the back of the net.
Right.
Especially him having been injured and missing time. You knew he was going to hit that ball with anger and venom, saying, "No, you're going to go to your home. I'm back. I'm the king here." And then he scores that goal, but I think the best part of the goal had to be the celebration.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Josef Martinez going up to Parky on the sidelines and kneeling to the captain. Oh my God, that's what you love to see. And in terms of Josef Martinez, like, he's just got a plethora of ideas for celebrations, I feel like, and it's just another example of that. And I mean, I think everybody felt the love, and then maybe that kind of I think it was probably already planned anyway, but maybe it tipped Frank de Boer's hand in the sentiment department, because later on Parky was brought on. But before that, let's get to Gressel's goal, which was just absolutely a rocket. And basically, when he's found in that area and on the right side of the box, and it's just like, no one's around him.
Yeah, he's gonna hit it.
He's gonna hit it with through the laces. That's what he's gonna do. And more often than not, he's been on target from there. I mean, I think it was earlier this year. There was one. I think one from last year. But yeah, I mean, this one, basically, it's a corner. Josef Martinez heads it out to him, and on the half volley, Julian Gressel, just
hit both posts as well, I believe, just to be extra sure. But I mean, it's one of those. This is a true half volley. I think some people nowadays don't necessarily understand what a half volley is, but to hit it right off the bounce like that and to catch it so pure, that is a very difficult and hard technique, especially to pull off with that power and that accuracy. But when you do it, it's beautiful, and it looks like that. And Julian Gressel, he took a bow. He knew how good it was. It was a fantastic goal, and you love seeing that. So. Man, he loves that. And the thing was, is when it kind of fell out to him, I think everyone kind of knew he was going to hit it, and it was like, hold on a second, is this actually going to happen? And then he just hit it. And, oh man, when that ball hit the back of the net, I think at that point, everyone knew Atlanta United was going to now win the game. You felt in control of it at that point in time. And again, maybe that was when everything was for sure, nailed on, that Parkhurst was going to come on and get his little bow.
Right. It was definitely the death knell in the match. I mean, I think even the second goal kind of took the wind out of New England's sails a little bit as well.
Because they didn't have too much to play for after that at that point. Just to play and try to figure out Atlanta United for the next match.
Exactly. And it's really just gain experience and experiment a little bit on what could work in unlocking the door against us. But so getting to Michael Parkhurst and a beautiful send-off. I mean, pretty much Parky for Gressel. I think, at first it's a little perplexing because it's like, okay, I guess, Franco Escobar moves up. Who moves into the back line in a sense, or Parky, Miles, and LGB, that will actually be the back line, but it's I think Mirim came off as well, right? And
well, before Parkhurst came on, there was the double change where Pogba came on, and where
so that's where it was like
Tito came on.
Where are people playing?
Yeah, so Pogba came on for Mirim and Tito came on for Barco, and it was interesting because at that point in time, Atlanta had actually changed formations for the first time in a long time, and they switched into a 4-2-3-1, which was very interesting. It had Gressel on the right, it had Hyndman as a 10, Tito as that left winger to make him not have to defend, which is very important.
Then Josef up top.
Pogba's left back was interesting. I wasn't sure why De Boer wanted to try this tactic out. I didn't know if it was maybe an idea that he has to maybe potentially play at some point in the playoffs.
Maybe the ball over the top as well to kind of nullify that. He is able to definitely, pretty much you can't get something over his head. And that's
Florentine Pogba, he's really good in the air. He is a unit in terms of physicality, and a couple times he was pretty decent on the ball as well. Yeah. But I think, once Parky came back in, it definitely kind of was a mixture of both a 4-2-3-1/3-5-2. Parky did get one run down the right-hand side overlapping to try to get into the attacking area.
And it almost looked there was almost a chance, and you almost really would have loved to see Parky put one in the back of the net. for his second ever MLS goal. I mean, and if that was in his very last regular season match.
I mean, if you say we'd gotten penalty, would Josef have let him take it?
Yeah, I think you almost have to, because I mean, if it's 3-1, you do it for the Bants. I mean, at that point, that would have been an amazing moment. But yeah, I mean, the send-off afterwards as well for Parky, Darren Eales with the standee with his jersey name and everything. Just beautiful, beautiful moment. And he got the golden spike as well. I think, Atlanta United Twitter, they knew what was up. They put the poll out, who should get the golden spike, and it was all Michael Parkhurst.
Michael Parkhurst. It couldn't be anyone else.
Yeah, so it had to be. But and I think for nostalgia, especially when you are up 3-1, I think it's the right move, and good on Frank de Boer for doing that. But yeah, I think all in the while though as well, Barco got a start, and I think he played beautifully. And there was a free kick that was almost on, except that the goalkeeper was equal to it. But
absolutely, maybe if he puts a little bit more pace on the ball, he might be able to get it in. But again, the technique was fantastic, and I think they're not the same player. But Barco is very similar to Miguel Almiron in that he's one of those players that when he picks up the ball and starts running at the defense, it gets you off your seat if you're not standing already. You start leaning forward, going, "What's going to happen?" Because you feel that he's going to make something happen. And it's just a shame that Atlanta United has missed so much of that this season because he's played so few games through both international duty and injuries. And it'd be, I think, a bit of a shame if he was to leave Atlanta United at the end of the season, because I think a lot of fans would feel we never saw the best of him, or we never really fully saw what he could do for the team. So we'll certainly see what happens going forward and going into the postseason. But to have him back and to play 60 minutes, it was good to see him back in the side, good to see a good run out. And yeah, I thought he had a very solid performance.
Exactly. And in terms of that, yeah, I mean, Barco getting that match fitness, huge. But also, yeah, earlier in the season, he was playing so well. And so to see that he is still very sharp, I mean, that's we need all the guys that we need in the playoffs going forward. But the surprise exclusion, I think most of all, is PT Martinez not playing a single minute in this match. Whether it's Frank de Boer not playing his entire hand, if there's some other things going on, it's you can speculate until your face turns blue, but it's one of those things where I think PT Martinez, the fact that we got a 3-1 win without him, I think still very much bodes well, because yeah, I mean, that means we can bring on a technical player against New England Revolution in the playoffs and surprise them a little bit, because they haven't seen how he actually is up front going against their defense. And I mean, yeah, that really could bring some surprise. I think that could really be useful. And also Eric Rometty, because someone that likes to harass other midfield players and sometimes forwards. I mean, it's something that maybe they're not going to be able to get in those type of easy touches in our midfield like that, for that first chance maybe. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think it's actually kind of smart that he didn't play every single hand that he had. And yeah, Larry, someone that they're, obviously Bruce Arena is familiar with. Parky, someone he's familiar with. That's really actually kind of smart. I feel like that. What he did. But
yeah, I mean, I think you also want to continue to help Tito try to regain his confidence and get back to full match fitness, so it makes sense for him to come on. And as far as Pity is concerned, I thought he played well against both Montreal and NYCFC, so I don't think it was a performance-based drop. I think that you start Barco because you need him to get a start, you need him to get that solid 60 minutes of action. You know what you're getting from Pity. And whether or not we start with all three, my gut feeling is we will start with both Pity, Barco, and Josef up top, because I think Atlanta at its best this season has had all three of those players starting at the same time. It's your three designated players. You want them all on the pitch. Emerson Hyndman does offer you something different as well. So I think that by not playing him, he's saving a little bit of his hand. And like you said, once you get 3-1 up, there's no reason to play him. You're bringing Parkhurst on so that you can give him his send-off. And with Eric Hermeti, it's interesting. I don't think Eric Hermeti has necessarily been playing his best football recently. He hasn't been in his best form. And Jeff Larentowicz gives you that balancing factor there in the midfield. You know he's going to be able to break play up. Although that being said, New England still managed to create a lot of chances. So was it him having a good game, or was it necessarily kind of looked over because they were still creating a lot of chances? So we'll certainly see. But the one thing that Atlanta United does have in its favor is that it has a lot of options. That Frank de Boer, in a way, does have a selection element on his hand to where he can pick and choose who he wants based upon the situation, which is a blessing, I'd say.
Right, and especially last year's playoffs, we had 2 super subs that we could bring on to finish off the match. That really is a good thing that, you can kind of have that ace in the hole up your sleeve. But I think I do worry, though, that essentially P.T. Martinez and Eric Remedi will probably go about 3 to 4 weeks without having played a match until we have the first round. And so that hopefully we have some very tough practices, some intense training sessions,
some
and maybe
squad friendly style stuff.
Some other things that will really get us ready for it, because it's just the layoff is going to be.
It's unfortunate, but it's just how MLS set up their playoffs this year with putting it right after the international break in order to have it finished before the November international break.
So yeah, it's a trade-off of basically having an international break in the playoffs or right before. And it's okay. I guess this is slightly better, but.
Either way, it's still not ideal.
So that puts a bow on this match and on decision day, in which, we secured second in the final standings.
Absolutely. Atlanta United took care of business as they had to do. If they won, they were going to finish second. NYCFC made sure of that regardless of the result that happened in the Atlanta United game, we would still finish second by seeing off the Philadelphia Union 2-1. As far as the rest of the Eastern Conference goes, as far as the standings and playoff seedings, NYCFC finished first, Atlanta United second, Philadelphia Union third, Toronto FC fourth, DC United fifth, New York Red Bulls 6th, and of course the New England Revolution 7th. Remember, in the playoffs, after each round, the playoffs will be reseeded so that the highest seed will always face the lowest remaining seed. So depending on what the results are, we could either be seeing a Philadelphia Union or a Toronto or a DC, who knows? All I know is that it won't be the Red Bulls if the Red Bulls win, because they'd be the lowest seed if they did win, which means we won't have to see them unless they make it all the way to the conference finals, and we do as well. So I guess in that sense, we don't have to play them, which is ideal.
Right, and if NYCFC do lose when their time finally comes, then we potentially could have 2 or maybe even more, games at the Benz. And so that's, I think, bodes well. Obviously, all of us, we all know how good we are at home and how kind of reverse it's been this season as opposed to last season on the road.
Ideally, we would not have to play at, it might not even be Yankee Stadium for what it's worth. Right. It might be Citi Field, because the Yankees have said, yeah, we're in the playoffs as well. Get stuffed. This is our stadium. So NYCFC might not even be playing their home playoff games at home. So
they might have to play at Citi Field or maybe even at Red Bull Arena.
Which, honestly, I would love for them to play at Red Bull Arena, because imagine, all right, this is Big May. Imagine them playing Red Bull at Red Bull Arena.
At home, yeah, exactly.
And a playoff game. That would be beautiful. But the Mets aren't in the playoffs, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, Atlanta United could only host MLS Cup if we were to win the East and LAFC were to not win the West. So who knows? As far as the Western Conference is concerned, though, LAFC, of course, did win the West.
And the Supporter Shield.
And the Supporter Shield, of course. They set the record for most points in a season with 72, surpassing the New York Red Bulls record from last year. The West was kind of wacky. Seattle Sounders ended up clinching the 2 seed, Real Salt Lake the 3 seed. Minnesota United, in their first playoff appearance, will also have a home playoff game. Good for them. They clinched the 4 seed. They will be hosting Zlatan and the LA Galaxy, who finished 5th. Portland sneaked in at 6th, and FC Dallas took care of business, and they finished 7th. They absolutely hammered Sporting KC, who have had a miserable season.
Yeah, and also, to note, the Earthquakes, who many were pegging like, oh yeah, with such a great turnaround with the new coach, Matias Almeida, their slide was pretty epic, I think. And yeah, I think they lost their last 6 or something like that. And that's really, that's very unfortunate, because that really would have been, I think, a fun matchup to see them play anybody. Them at their best during the regular season, it really would have been a shootout, and that would have been fun for anybody. But that's the unfortunate part. But Atlanta United, in the 2 years we have we have had 126 points across the 2 seasons, and that's the second most in MLS history. LAFC set that mark on Sunday with 129 points.
One more win, whatever.
One more win, but yeah, we are also...
we have more people at our games than you.
But it's also, we have also gotten the most points after winning MLS Cup, so, there's at least something we can hold over them.
And more points than I believe in our inaugural season as well.
Yeah.
So there is an improvement there. There was a, 9-point drop off between this season and last season, or 10 points. So that's a bit expected when you have a coaching turnover and you draw like literally no games throughout the season.
Yeah, and then also CCL to contend with, and also pretty much the winning U.S. Open Cup, deep runs and things. Kind of really will take some win out of your sails for sure. And also a great thing that came from all the matches that we played this season at home. Our average attendance is 52,510, and that also led the league for the 3rd straight year. So good on the fans for that. Of course, though, you might be one of those fans or people that attendance, is it the actual announced or is it actual tickets sold? How many people are going through the turnstiles?
Point being, we are always getting more people than anyone else, so it doesn't matter.
It's a large margin, so it really shouldn't matter too hard for them.
I think the next bit's probably the most depressing news from Decision Day, though. And that is the fact that Carlos Vela has broken Josef Martinez's goal record. I will say, at least he did it with style. He did it with a hat trick, he did it with the goal outside the box, and he did it with a bicycle kick, kind of. It was really good, but at the same time, I'm still going to be Salt Bay on this one and be super salty about the whole thing.
Yeah, I think there are a little bit of caveats. Is Josef Martinez, I think he did it with more panache, I feel like.
Yeah, well, we're going to be a bit biased on that. But
yes, but and then Carlos Vela, I think arguably had a lot more help than Josef Martinez. With Diogo Rossi also, scoring that many goals. Pretty much they're as stacked as can be. And we had a Miggy, but I believe he was the only person in double figures last season for us as well.
As far as attacking goes, they were a better team attacking than Atlanta United was last season.
And so, I think if you're talking about MVP, yes,
he's absolutely MVP.
But
34 goals and 15 assists? That's honestly, if we're being taken complete bias away, one of the greatest, if not the greatest individual season statistic-wise in MLS history. That is to be responsible for a total of almost 50 goals by yourself.
Surpasses, I think, Jovinko for one of the best seasons.
I didn't like Jovinko, so I'm fine with that.
And also, Carlos Vela, former Gunner, so
whatever. Not important. He didn't even want to come back to Arsenal after he left.
There wasn't a reason to bring him back, so there wasn't really a spot. There really wasn't. But
whatever. Point being is that I'm a bit salty. He got more penalties than Josef. I think he had 3 more penalties than Josef. So that's
he had
for the
9,
record.
I think, total in terms of.
Was it 9? I thought it was like 11.
Apparently it was. Well,
I thought it was like 11.
It's around that territory, and so
he also turned down international call-ups. I'm gonna say everything that I can to discredit this because I am a homer and a salty bitch.
Yeah,
I am not gonna deny it. I'm being straightforward. I'm backing my boy Josef.
Incredible season by Carlos Vela, but
if he breaks Josef's goal scoring in a row record, I will be genuinely shocked because I didn't think that Josef's record would get broken immediately, but at least his goal scoring in terms of games in a row, there's no way that gets, that is so much, it's almost doubled the record of games from 9 to 15, 16, 15, whatever, doesn't matter. Point is, that's not going to happen anytime soon, and that's far more impressive as far as I'm concerned.
Hopefully not. But I think what it serves is that it's a great motivator for Josef Martinez, who really needs no motivation, and any sort of that extra motivation, he really is like Michael Jordan. He can just make up trash talk and he will play harder.
He wants 35 goals next year.
Exactly, or more. And so it's just, I think it actually serves us well, because if he's firing like that, yes, it will be fantastic for us. But moving on from that, Julian Gressel, he won the MLS Goal of the Week already, and so
he's going to be nominated again, I believe, right? Or did he already win for this week?
He already won for this week, back-to-back already. And
there you go.
Beautiful. And he also made the MLS Team of the Week. Richly deserved, for sure. But what was interesting, I think, though, so Julian Gressel got two assists and a goal. Josef Martinez also got 2 assists and a goal. Yes, it's a hockey assist. But still, pretty much had a very similar day, and arguably coming back from 2 weeks of the just crazy will he won't he type of injury.
He's made of adamantium.
That's pretty much. He is the Wolverine. But
yes.
And so also Miles Robinson, big news today. He has signed a contract extension until 2023, and people will speculate how much is he getting. He was originally
We'll find out next year.
Yeah, we'll find out next year at around September. But he made around $200,000 this season, and as you know, I think he got a sweet deal from being our #1 draft pick in the 2017 Super Draft. But in terms of I think this extension, it really could be anywhere. I think it's somewhere in the territory of 300,000 to maybe 500,000.
I'm kind of surprised. We were talking before we started recording about the timing of this announcement. If I'm him, I'm kind of looking at his agent going, "Yo, why did we do this now?" Because he has a chance of being in the MLS Team of the Year. He has a chance of being an MLS Defender Player of the Year. I think he'll probably lose out to Ike Opara, but still finishing second. And then he also just got called up to the U.S. Men's National Team again.
Yeah.
So he's playing for the Men's National Team. And the other two things I just mentioned, Defender of the Year, possible 11 of the year. It's like wait for that to come out, and then ask for even more money.
But for Atlanta United, it's smart business because you
100%.
get it done before all the plaudits come out. I mean, why not? And then you have to think that they had been negotiating before the end of the season to begin with, and because of the nature of when this was announced. So absolutely, I mean that's really, really great piece of business, and locking up this defender for 5 years more, essentially. I mean, or 4 years. I mean, I think parts of 5 years. And so, really, really smart on us. And so, I mean, having Miles Robinson around for that many more years, I think we see the potential. Will he be around for all of it?
He keeps developing the way that he is. Probably not.
Yeah. But speaking of that U.S. Men's National Team call-up, he has been named to the roster. And so he will play the CONCACAF Nations League tournament that they are going to be a part of in this international window. But will he be actually selected in a starting 11?
Hopefully not.
We'll see. I hope he gets a cap, but it's one of those things where, I mean, we don't want him to play too much.
He can play in the November international break.
Yeah.
But this one, nope.
Yeah, hopefully, fewer minutes probably is actually probably good for him because he's played a ton of minutes this season. And also, of Atlanta United 2 territory, Jose Hernandez also was named to the U23s for the Venezuelan national team. And so, and of course, Josef Martinez has pretty much, written off being part of the Venezuelan national team. So,
and in this case, Justin Mirim did not come up with for Iraq.
Yeah, and so he did not accept it for that call-up as well, because I think he saw that, yes, MLS playoffs are coming up right now, and he kind of probably either wants to take that break and take this time to rest up and prepare for it, and not have to rush back and then, where he's just not ready for it. I think he sees that this is a brilliant chance for him to win MLS Cup if there was any. So it's smart on him, and we're glad that he is, because he's a vital cog in our wingback play. But also Justin Mirim, with a tweet that he has since deleted in a kind of time frame that was very convenient in a Orlando City firing James O'Connor, and then Justin Mirim tweets 2 laughing, crying emoji faces. And
there's no love lost there.
There's no love lost. Basically, he hated it his time at Orlando City, and he was pretty much benched for a period of time. James O'Connor, probably a large part of that. And so, I don't think you can blame him. But the fact that he deleted it probably came from somewhere else where, he was probably told, you probably shouldn't do that. And it's a shame, because, it really wasn't that harmful, but maybe it was confused with the Iraqi call-up. Maybe it was something that
who knows?
He had to rectify. But, I found it hilarious, and, I think...
it's making fun of Orlando.
Exactly. Anytime
to be fair, though, at this point, it's kind of I will never feel bad for Orlando, but it's just it's hard to even like keep laughing at them because it's just so bad and it's consistently
It
so
is
bad.
but
where
let's
it's just
not
like,
forget. Let's not forget the death threats and the hate.
oh no.
mail that you see.
I'm saying not as far as he goes. I'm saying me personally at this point, like seeing them fire James O'Connor, it's just like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
the instability that's within
that club in a
the club.
nutshell. Like they've turned so many people off from soccer, whereas Atlanta United has turned people on to soccer. Everyone's just like, why is this a thing? Like I don't see any clubs folding anytime soon in MLS, but if you had to pick one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think really those appointments have been all that bad in terms of the quality of manager.
I think the club just sucks.
Yeah, I think the actual ownership and the management has been very suspect, and so that's really where it's coming from. But because
you hate to see it.
Yeah, but you love to see it. Actually,
you don't hate to see
it.
So,
but anyway, Atlanta United's first fixture or first known fixture of 2020 has been revealed, and they will play at Chicago's Soldier Field. Chicago's
it's probably like, I don't know, we're not Midwestern.
Yeah, we're not Midwestern, but I do love Chicago, and so yeah, it is one of those things where I think them playing at Soldier Field, is pretty much very, very close to Grant Park, their Grant Park. We also have a Grant Park here in Atlanta, if you didn't know. But with their grid system, I think it allows for more of prospective fans, because they don't really currently have a ton of fans that go to their games, to be able to get to their games. And so that match will be played on March 21st in 2020 rather. 2020.
We're going back 100 years?
We're going back 100 years.
Prohibition and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
I might actually go to that game. One of our really close friends, we're both Manchester United sufferers, but he's a Fire fan, and now knowing that game's then, I might go up and check the game. I've never been to Chicago, and
it is a blast.
I mean, it'll still probably be really cold there.
Yes, it might even snow because March. I mean, pretty much there's. As most people in Chicago know, there's pretty much only 1 month that's really, really nice.
There's like, 2 seasons is like winter and construction apparently, or something like that.
And so, but either way, that's their home opener. And unfortunately, the Benz will be unavailable for several weeks in March and early April for the Final Four.
Well, it's not monster trucks, so I think people might be able to accept that a little bit more.
Right. And so, that might mean a little bit more home matches later in the year, which I think, if that is the case, we've shown what we can do with that, so
I'm
it's
fine
not
with
a bad thing. But moving on from that, let's get into the transfer rumor of the week. And there is a report from 90 Min, that website, that says several Brazilian clubs want PT Martinez on loan in January. I mean, I can't really see that happening, because if it is a loan, that is probably the worst case scenario for Atlanta United.
It makes no sense. It's like all risk, no reward. He can get hurt or play bad, and then now we have no return on our investment.
Exactly. And so I pour cold water all over this.
Dubious at best.
Yeah, and I very much think that's not going to happen. So, but moving on from that, there is an expansion draft coming up after the MLS Cup, and so you have the new clubs coming in Nashville and Inter Miami. There are 12 players that you can keep. There
will be twice as many people taken in this year's expansion draft as opposed to last year, and they'll probably look at Cincinnati and go, whatever they did, that's not what we're going to do.
Right. And so there's also this, though, if we only get if we get a player taken, then that's it. We don't get 2 taken, so that's great. But it leads us to, who are we going to protect? And so I think going in through the ones that we agree with.
Yeah, and this is something that's happening recently where we agree on pretty much everything, which is not always the case, but in this case, I think we agreed on the players. I think this is something we'll definitely revisit again after the season comes to an end, because who knows? But let's get into that list.
Right, and I think this is prompted because of a user that has been kind of hounding us about it, Terminus United 83. So hat tip to you for that. But first off, I think we gotta keep Josef.
Oh,
Number
actually,
one.
before we even get into that, maybe it would help to actually talk about more specific of the rules. Like AJ said, you can protect 12 players, and that's from both your first team, your supplemental roster, and your reserves. And there's only a few rules that protect players, but basically, as far as we're concerned, almost Atlanta's entire roster is really up for being selected. Homegrown players do have a certain protection, as do Generation Adidas players, but I believe both Julian Gressel and Miles Robinson have now graduated out of that, or they are no longer protected by that.
Right.
And your DPs are not automatically protected either, which is kind of weird when you think about it. But anyway, like you said, number one, protecting the DP, Josef Martinez, for obvious reasons, because no one can have him but us.
Exactly. And I think next up, you keep Ezequiel Barco for sure. That's just a no-brainer there. And next up after that, I think Julian Gressel definitely is vital to this team. And that, yeah, I mean, you pretty much, he's played almost every single match that we played in MLS.
And if you play with a back three, he's your right wing back.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, definitely have to do that. LGP, another stalwart. Yes, definitely we have to have LGP in there, but there might be some, you know, is he going to, you know, re-up his contract? There are some kind of things where we don't know if he's going to.
But that being said, Atlanta may still protect him because even if players' contracts are expiring at the end of the season, they are still available for selection in the expansion draft. So that wouldn't, you know, exclude him from being picked. So is he going to stay? Is he not? He's one of those players that at times has had issues with Frank de Boer, that we've seen that in the quotes he's put out to the press. So is he going to? Again, the contract situation, we're not entirely aware of if he has another year left or what the club holds as far as options go. But he's absolutely a player that you have to protect because he's one of the best defenders, regardless of the mistakes he makes in MLS. And you got to make sure he doesn't get picked up for free by someone else.
Exactly. And so next up, the new signee, Miles Robinson, for sure. I mean, for obvious reasons. You don't just sign him up and then expose him to the draft.
Especially when he's now one of the best defenders in Major League Soccer.
Exactly. And then next up after that, I think our only natural right back, if we're ever going to play in that system again, and that is Franco Escobar. And so definitely, you know, for obvious reasons there. And I think after that, Eric Remedi definitely is a guy that, I mean, you know, still hella useful, and you know, you
he's
can
very
use him.
functionable. Exactly,
and you can use him in a lot of places, and so definitely, yeah, keeping Remedi in that and not exposing him. I think you gotta, you know, I mean, it depends on what the situation is. We're probably not gonna make a move right after the MLS Cup, although it depends, obviously. Because obviously, yeah, I mean, it's not the you know, winter transfer window as well as many other things, but you know, it'd be interesting. But I don't think you expose PT Martinez.
Absolutely not. He's a player of quality and of talent, I think, to do. I mean, again, he's a DP. Almost every single team, unless you know, you're Fernando Addy at Cincinnati, is going to be protected by their teams because they're not going to get picked in this expansion draft. And PT Martinez, there's no way that he sees that expansion draft.
Exactly. And then, of course, you got to keep the first choice goalkeeper there as well, Brad Guzan. And then this is where it kind of gets really kind of tricky. Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Nagbe. He should be not left exposed, but I believe his contract is up at the end of this season. And I mean, there is the whisper of him selling his home. There's, you know, him wanting
earlier this season, wanting to move on.
Maybe
so he might be leaving anyway.
Yeah, like, do you just, you know, maybe try to save somebody else? And you know, if you already know the writing on the wall, hopefully. He is staying, and hopefully it's not an issue, and yes, then I would include him.
I mean, then again, that being said, if you know for a fact he's leaving, I'm not protecting him.
Yeah.
Like, if you've had those contract negotiations and it's like, look, I'm not coming back, then you don't protect him.
Right.
Because I don't know how it works with this contract expiring, but also his agent will probably make it very apparent to those two teams, I don't want to go there. And he'd be very pissed off to go there anyway. It's like, I don't want to be here. Like, I want to go somewhere else, trade me. And now, I guess maybe in that case, they could pick him and then trade him for a lot of money from Columbus.
Sure.
Whatever that situation is. But if you know he's not staying, 0% chance, and he's made that clear, then I'm not protecting him.
Right.
But if there is a way that you can keep him, then you can protect him. But that's one of those interesting things about the expansion draft. And I think we would all love him to stay here, but he's also one of those players who I think his value will be determined by what comes up in the new CBA. Because if Tam and Gam go away, the salary cap increases and you're allowed to pay him more money, he's $1 million a year player as far as I'm concerned, because he's one of the best players in MLS. He's the best player at his position in MLS. So if you think you can hold on to him, because I don't personally think he will sign with Columbus or any team until after the CBA is done.
I think so, yeah.
Then
that really determines how high of a salary he can receive, and that's, I think, really what he's worried about, because this is pretty much his last contract. So
this can be his big contract as well, because he has been playing so well for Atlanta United that whatever money he gets, he will deserve.
Right. So next up, it will be Tito Villalba, which also his deal, I think, expires at the end of the season as well. And so definitely it is, he has been seeing limited minutes, injuries as well has played a part. Tito Villalba, I mean, lots of people hold him very dear in their hearts because he's our first CP. He would be on, big wages as well, again, if he were re-signed. But either way, we want to retain his rights, because if he does move even interim MLS, then you still want to, be able to command some sort of trade if the CBA does retain allocation money, then you still want to get some sort of allocation money that's still reasonable.
And you don't want to have him opened up, because as far as I'm concerned, if Tito Villalba was fit, he starts for any team in MLS. Yeah. I mean, outside of maybe LAFC and in some cases, obviously Atlanta United. I mean, Miami would love a player like Tito Villalba. So
they probably wouldn't even need him though, but maybe Nashville really definitely.
I don't think he'd want to go to Nashville. That's just me.
I don't know if he has really too much of a choice, but yeah.
I mean, you protect him because you don't want him getting picked up by either one of those two clubs, as far as I'm concerned. I think that's why you protect him. And then if he does go, I don't know if he stays in MLS. I could see him going back to Argentina. Who knows? I'd like for him to stay here, but again, a lot of this stuff is going to be really weird this year because of that CBA expiring. But I think he's one of those players that you have to protect just to prevent him from going. Yeah. But unless you know that he's leaving, especially going outside of the country, then maybe you leave him unprotected. But still, you're still going to find the quality of any other player that's worthy of justifying that protection.
Right. And he also, he absolutely wants to play first team minutes, because he made the move in switching national teams to Paraguay for a reason. And him being excluded in the summer because of injury, that tore him apart. And so that's one of those things where, definitely, it really brings a conundrum for sure. But that last person on this 12-man list, it's Brandon Vasquez, I think, for me, because he's shown enough this season that he's a capable backup. And I think if we were to lose him, then you're pretty much without a backup striker.
You have to now go find a backup striker. Right. And he does so many things well. He's the only player on Atlanta that can play with his back to goal, receive the ball to his feet, and then be able to bring others into play. He offers you a lot. I think he's improved a lot this season, where he left a lot to be desired after year 2, but he's shown hard work and he's shown improvement this season, and hopefully he can continue to improve with that form. I think now we can really address a couple of notable absences off that list. I think first for me would be Emerson Hyndman. Reason being, he's on loan, so he doesn't belong to us, so he can't get picked. And I think that's one of the possible structures of his contract if Atlanta United does indeed pick up that option. And based upon the way that he's been playing, I think that's something that will happen, but we won't do that until after the expansion draft. So he is not available to be selected because he's not Atlanta United's player.
Right, and it was probably worked into the deal when we got him on loan to begin with, and so that's just a smart piece of business if that is the case. And so, definitely Hyndman, that's, I think some people would be like, what? But I think, I think that's a smart move in exclusion there because of that. Next person, I think, definitely a Florentine Pogba, for sure.
Is he going to be here next year anyway? What's his contract situation? Right. We don't know how many years it was, and maybe just through the end of the season. It wouldn't shock me if he was to move back to Europe if he could somewhere to be closer to his family. Who knows?
Yeah, I think he is a very capable defender. I think he would start for many MLS teams.
I think he'd be a good pickup by Inter Miami, to be perfectly honest with you. I could see that happening. I could see him actually loving life in Miami.
Right? Oh, for sure. He is want to do a dance move out of nowhere for sure, and so definitely, I think, he would see very well in Miami. But I think, I think you can't save everybody, and this is one of those guys that might be a casualty, unfortunately. But I think you can find something comparable, and but maybe not with the locker room presence, but definitely maybe something of what he can provide. Also, a Dion Pereira could be someone that could be I think, exposed that, you would be kind of remiss to kind of, lose that type of depth and kind of promise. I think, he does show a lot of ability on the ball. His final product is a little bit missing, but I mean, if you are to miss that, I mean, yeah, he showed, I think, a lot of promise, early in the season, but I mean, he is an exclusion because, yes, I don't think he's better than any of those guys in the 12.
Those other guys are almost, they're not, they're inexpendable. Like, you can't get rid of them.
Right, exactly. And so that's pretty much, I think, the notable guys that were excluded from the list, and of course, those homegrowns, I think are still homegrown enough and haven't played enough significant first-team minutes to really, be a part of being chosen, or, because I think those people that, I mean, these clubs, they want to choose first-team ready guys, and, those guys, I don't think are there quite.
And that's even there with like a Dion Prayer or like a Mo Adams. They're not first-team guys that you're going to get that are immediately going to step in and start 25, 30 games for you. So in that case, leaving them unprotected, you can also afford to do that because it's unlikely, knock on wood, that they would get picked.
Right. But yeah, moving on to another topic, and this was kind of a little bit of inspiration from Chris from the fan cams this past weekend. He was talking about the Mount Rushmore for Atlanta United if, at this point in time, you had to choose for the Legends. And yeah, I mean, I think there's some interesting ones that you could put in there. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google Mount Rushmore, I guess, if you're not aware of what that is. But you have to have the caveat that there are some younger people that are
fair enough.
That are watching and don't know what we're talking about. But I think some people didn't know what Outkast was and what Wu-Tang Clan was. So, this is yeah.
There's like a Wu-Tang Clan name generator you can go in and be like, you can join the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, yeah.
I did mine and I forgot. It was something really stupid. It was what the hell was it? Sorry, this is riveting content. It was basically like Mighty Homeless Man was basically mine. I was just like, what the hell?
That doesn't surprise me, actually. That makes
Mighty Beggar. Mighty Beggar. That's what it was. I was like, what?
Yeah, Donald Glover, a.k.a. Childish Gambino, also got his name from the Wu-Tang Clan generator, actually. So.
Wait, Childish Gambino came from the Wu-Tang?
Yeah, his name, he chose it, or he pretty much used the Wu-Tang Clan
until
name
he got
generator.
One that he liked, and it was...
No, I think apparently it was the first one that he got.
That's
it was Childish
wild.
Gambino, so yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, severely off topic.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, first up, who's on that list? Because I think, this was born out of a conversation about Michael Parkhurst, him being the first captain of Atlanta United. He's got to be included in that.
Yes, both of us have Michael Parkhurst on that list.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the first captain. He's the guy that when you will always look at the images of Atlanta United lifting the MLS Cup, he's the one that's doing it the first time. So he has to be on there because he was your captain. He had a hand in that first goal as well.
Yep.
So it's got to be him. And I think it's easy to transition immediately to the second guy, and that's the guy that scored that goal, and that's Josef Martinez.
Right, and it's also the cries of building the statue. If you're building a statue, and that's what pretty much Mount Rushmore is, I think that would make sense that he was part of that as well. And another guy, this one might be, I mean, we agree on this, and this might be kind of a surprise to many, but I think in this point in time, I mean, he leads our team in assists. I mean, and that's beyond, far beyond what the output of what anybody else has, and that's Julian Gressel. I mean, yes, again, he's as old as the club is in terms of MLS experience, but I think he's done so much for this club in that sense. But he still has a lot of career to play, and that's
hopefully a lot here.
Yeah, hopefully a lot here, but I think the caveat is that it is in this point in time, because we can't look into the future. We don't have a crystal ball, and so, yes, Julian Gressel, I think, is definitely part of that Mount Rushmore.
Our fourth is where we finally disagree, because we agree on the first three.
Yeah.
I'm going to go first. My fourth is the big smile, the ostrich himself, Miguel Almiron. You have to have him there for me. Yes, he wasn't here this season, but the club would not be what it is today without Miguel Almiron. He was instrumental in you winning MLS Cup. He was instrumental in your first season. He helped Josef become what Josef is today with their fusion, and he kind of was the reason that you wanted to start this model of getting young players and moving them on. you got to have him on there for me, even though he was only here for 2 seasons. He was our first 10, and he would have a massive smile in his image.
I mean, and I don't disagree with most of what you're saying. I think it's just that big thing of him not being really on this team for very long, and
it was one less year than anyone else on this list.
Well,
okay,
again, but this is where I think the longevity does play a part, because that is where it's I think part of the argument. And so LGP I think is, for me, part of that Mount Rushmore at the moment. It might be a little bit fluid. It depends on.
You know who'd look great on a Mount Rushmore? Brad Guzan, because he's tall. It'd also be really easy for them to make, because it'd just be like, sweet,
I don't know,
flat.
actually. No, because actually round things might be actually a little bit more difficult.
But you wouldn't have to get the detail of the hair. Like LGP, you'd have to get the hair and the beard. And
for me, the longevity of that is because he only came in halfway through the 2017 season. So LGP, because of, I think him bringing all the players under his wing in terms of South American players. I mean, he pretty much is a almost de facto captain on the pitch as well, because of how vocal he is and how he bridges the gap between the Spanish-speaking players and the English-speaking players as well. I think, LGP has been that rock in defense for all 3 seasons. Whether it's been a little bit little shoddy here and there, either way, he's brought the kind of personality of the team, in that we are swashbuckling. We will go for it. We will take risks. So, yeah, I think for me, LGP is kind of fluidly right now part of the Mount Rushmore. But anyway, that was a little fun segment from that news segment, and we'll move on to Atlanta United 2 and what they did this past weekend. They drew the Pittsburgh Riverhounds 1-1. Wesley Dekas got his first goal of the season, and that is 6 undefeated for the Twos. That is a club record.
It's not a lot of wins, but they haven't been losing, which is an improvement.
For sure. There's 3 wins in that, but anyway. But that does it for the news and gets us to our giveaway winner. And basically, with her comment, Kara Knott, not only did she guess the right scoreline, which wasn't a requirement, but she said that she wanted to see a Parky goal, and so that's just good karma. So congrats, Kara Knott. Please message us on the back end of our channel and claim your prize. Thank you, everybody, for commenting and entering the giveaway. So anyway, that does it for that, and gets us to our buy or sell segment. And so first topic is, well, to explain what buy or sell is, if you haven't seen this show before, basically we put up an Atlanta United topic and we decide if we buy or sell it, and then we give our reasons. So first topic is Frank de Boer will start PT Martinez in the playoffs. Buy or sell? Buy.
Atlanta has played its best soccer so far this season when PT Martinez, Josef Martinez, and Ezequiel Barco have all been playing. It's your most attacking lineup. It's your best players, big time games. This is a playoff game. You have to score your goals. And as well as Emerson Hyndman's played, maybe you play him further back in midfield. I don't know. Maybe you can bring him off the bench. But I think that PT Martinez offers you a whole heck of a lot. He is a divisive figure with how he's played this year. Some people don't believe in him. I still personally do. And I think he's been at his best when in that middle of the season stretch where you had the 3 of them together for that short period of time. He looked really good there. I think he starts PT Martinez.
Yeah, I think I buy that he will start, but I think Emerson Hyndman, he very well could start as well over PT Martinez. And it's just one of those things where I think both of them have shown up in cup finals. And so that's one of those things where, it really could go either way. And I think it is kind of between that those qualities that they have at this point, because PT Martinez can pretty much, he and Barco are very similar in some regard, in that they bring a lot of creativity, maybe lack a little bit in the defensive and work rate than an Emerson Hyndman. And so if you're trying to value really that work rate and the defensive contributions, then I think you see an Emerson Hyndman. But if you're really trying to go all out and trying to, first kind of get a foothold of the game and kind of get as many goals as possible early on, then you see a PT Martinez start. Next topic is Orlando City will finish above Atlanta United in the next 3 years. So
that's my
move
answer.
on from that. Yeah. Pretty much, yeah, we're gonna sell that. But anyway, that does it for buy or sell and gets us to the mailbag. And you guys send in these questions through IG story. Please continue to do so, and we might answer your question in the future. First question comes from Thomas Japples 17. When Bella was fit, who would you rather start left wing back?
Holy crap! I just realized we missed someone in our expansion draft.
Yeah,
We
George
didn't
Bello.
know Justin Mirim.
Yeah, I know, but Justin Mirim, there is a kind of his contract
Is also expired.
Yeah, it's expired. Well, it's kind of ish. I think he just signed a new one. I think when he I think was with Columbus, and then he moved on to Orlando City. I think he's still got some years on it, but he is 30 years old, and it's one of those things where George Bello, I think he might usurp him next season.
Point being is
For me, that's where it was.
For me, well, either way, he's a player that we didn't discuss at all in the expansion draft, and I don't know why we didn't do that. That just kind of slipped the mind because, again, whether he's staying, whether he's going, who knows?
Yeah.
I'd rather him stay. I wouldn't want him to get picked up. I don't know if he'd want to move again. I think he's very happy here. You might be able to work out one of those trade things where we do where you say, here's a pick, and now you don't pick someone from us. So who knows? But I think ideal scenario is you would have Bello and Mirim both here next season. Bello has had a tough season. Obviously, he had the game at the beginning of the season against Herediano where he was not very good. Justin Mirim was not on the team at that time. You had Rick Shea, who worked in that position, didn't do so well compared to what Justin Mirim has done in terms of attacking output. I'd like to have both of them there. I think Justin Mirim would be able to push Bello, and I think Bello in turn would be able to push Justin Mirim. Bello is still young. He still has developing to do. He's played some more game time recently with the twos. I still would like him to play more consistently with the twos because I still think he needs that experience. But I think next year it's key for him to start playing those first team games. But I personally do not believe that it is in his best interest, nor is he ready to immediately assume the duties of being Atlanta United's starting left back next season.
That's fair. I think though, why he was kind of pretty much left off from the kind of proceedings for the rest of 2019 with Atlanta United, the first team, was that pretty much there is that competition, for him being part of the U.S. youth national team, and so definitely. They want to just kind of have the continuity of him being on Atlanta United 2 and not bouncing back and forth, develop a little bit more, and so it's understandable. I think I don't think it's Bello isn't fit because he has been playing pretty much over the past month for Atlanta United 2.
We need to have that really long-term injury from the beginning of the season through the middle of the season.
Exactly, and so that's really the reasoning there. But I think he definitely does play a large part next season because he is our out and out left back in terms of what we see as the future, and so it's just a matter of getting him the game time, and it's just we'll see. But,
I'm still very much a believer of with him. His development has to be handled the right way and handled carefully, and especially with good young players, the best thing you can do is to slowly bleed them in, be able to have them surrounded by experienced players that can come in and out and not have them constantly in the firing line to where they can develop and grow in that confidence. He was thrown in the deep end at Herediano and performed horribly. And I don't want to, not saying that can happen again, but I don't want him to be put in that position again where there's so much pressure on him. So having another experienced player that's similar, like Justin Mirim, who can play that wing back role as we've seen, I think is very important to have around him to kind of have that time and be able to really nurture him forward, take them under their wing, one should say.
And I think hopefully that we don't have like the kind of freak injuries that we've had at the left back position as well next season, because I think you see a Mikey Ambrose play a larger part as well if he's still with the team, and then even maybe a Jose Hernandez kind of play a larger part, even though he has been playing midfield for two pretty much almost exclusively. So, but either way, there still is depth there to kind of spell that. But next question comes from Big Spook Milo. Very October-friendly username. Do you think that an informed Josef playing in every game of the season could beat 34 goals?
I'll keep this one short. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely he will, because I think, as alluded to earlier, the just motivation, he doesn't really need much more motivation already. And then the fact that the year after he broke the record and then set a record and then it gets broken, that he is going to be gunning for that as well as trying to win all the trophies. And so, I think we're going to see some more hat tricks records being broken, some just ridiculous scoring streaks going, because that's just who Josef Martinez is. Hopefully he can stay healthy to do that. But next question comes from Sam Valines. Would we rather play New Jersey Red Bulls or Philadelphia Union?
LOL to New Jersey Red Bulls. I'd personally rather play I'd rather play the Union only because we have that kind of bugbear with the Red Bulls. Although they haven't been great this year, they got smashed by Montreal on decision day, which is really weird. They've had injury issues as well. So matchup wise, you would say the Red Bulls in terms of how the season went, but it's just Red Bulls being Red Bulls and us having that hoodoo. And I just feel that even though we lost 3-1 in Philadelphia and they've been a solid team so far this season, I feel that at home Atlanta United, when we're healthy, when we're fit, when we have our rest, we're a better team than they are. So, I mean, you have to beat the good teams at some point in time. I mean, I'd rather just play Philadelphia Union and not even risk that whole thing with Red Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, especially, it's Philadelphia Union, that match, we were very much, I think, in that game before they scored their 2 goals. And so, yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think if we have, enough rest, which, I mean, it will be like 3 days, but it will be on the back of 2 weeks from the international break, if it were. Yeah, I take our chances at home against a Philadelphia Union for sure. And so definitely I would prefer that versus kind of the derby kind of feeling of playing the Red Bulls. It's kind of like the North London Derby, where it could be any sort of form going for both of the teams, but that just goes right out the window because Red Bulls, they just play us tough no matter how bad or how good they are. They just, in the regular season, it's been that. But the playoffs, different story, but we still technically didn't kind of beat them at Red Bull Arena, but either way. So, yes, long story short, Union. Last question comes from Nicholas Odian. Is there a player who didn't play much during the season you see having a big role in the playoffs?
Yes, and that player is Tito Villalba, because he spent almost all season being hurt or not being able to get into the team. I think he is an incredible player to be able to bring off the bench. He's just a game changer when he's fit, when he's confident, when he's healthy. He can run at players, he can make things happen, and he loves big moments as well. You could see with that third goal against Red Bulls last season. So I think, for me, he fits that bill in terms of who hasn't played a lot. For me, it's Tito Villalba.
Yeah, I mean, he's the game changer. He's the super sub, and although he hasn't played like that maybe of late, I think the match before that, he definitely showed a lot more, and he was showing that impetus. He was bombing down the left side as well. I think maybe if we can play maybe Tito on the right side a little bit, where he's maybe slightly more comfortable, it might kind of bode a little bit better. But I mean, you saw even in the New England Revolution match, I mean, he took, I think, 3 shots. I mean, I think one of them was on target, but either way, I mean, he's having a shot whenever he's in the box. And so, anytime you have a guy that's going to be trying to make a difference, taking shots, he's not afraid to pop one off from anywhere. Yeah, I mean, you kind of take your chances with that type of guy. So that does it for the mailbag, and pretty much does it for the show, except for the question of the day.
The question of the day is pretty simple, guys. How far do you think Atlanta United will make it into the playoffs? Get down in the comments below and let us know what you guys have to say.
But guys, that's it for us today. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Smash that like button and share this video because it really does help us a lot. For Tanner, I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching.